we're going to talk about SOLIDWORKS PDM and what it can do for you to make your document management more simple, right? We're going to be talking about what it does. We're going to be talking about what it is as well, right? As well as kind of the differences between PDM Standard and PDM Professional, as well as we're going to take a live look on how and what it can do for you as far as SOLIDWORKS data and other types of files. So I don't want to leave any stone unturned. PDM is an acronym. It stands for Product Data Management. Like many acronyms that we have in engineering, we want to make sure that we have the correct version of that. We're going to be talking about SOLIDWORKS PDM, and when I look at PDM, I think of document management instead. It's managing all the documents, it's managing all the files that we deal with, related to projects and related to other things, and it's all stored within Windows Explorer. So in Windows Explorer, we actually navigate, we go there, we kind of interact with the files. So if you're already familiar with how to copy and paste a file in Windows, you're going to be set up and ready to use SOLIDWORKS PDM. SOLIDWORKS PDM can also manage lots of data types. It can manage all the SOLIDWORKS drawings, parts, assemblies, as well as PDFs, Office documents, email, anything that's related to the project. Maybe you're getting a customer file in, you need to modify it. Maybe it's a vendor part that you need to add. Any other types of CAD data that you utilize can also be placed inside the PDM in the same project. So when we talk about that, we're going to be talking about CAD files today. We're going to be talking about SOLIDWORKS files, other types of CAD files that are in there, and then non-CAD files. So we talked about Office and PDFs and other things, but it could also include manufacturing data like NC files or anything that the machine uses to run. Maybe it's other types of files, sliced information for additive manufacturing, or any other types of files that you have. As you put those files into the vault, what's going to happen is it's going to start to create a version every time you do a check-in and check-out process. You're going to take ownership, you're going to make some changes, you're going to put it back in the vault using a check-in. That creates a secondary version. So if I do that every day for a week, I can go back to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way through the process and look at what was done each day. Now, that's going to apply to 1 week, it's going to apply to a month or a year or even several years. You can go back in time. So that's a great way to use PDM. The second one that we're going to talk about is revision control. Revision control has the capability of managing the file in a released process. So we're going to go and we're going to look at the revisions, and the workflow kind of ties in with that. We're going to be making some choices on whether things are approved or not approved, and that's going to automate the revision cycle. All right, looking at workflows, kind of a segue into that. We're going to be looking at this workflow here. We're going to start in WIP, or work in progress. As that file transitions to a pending approval cycle, that pending approval is then going to be worked by the manager or worked by a peer or whoever's the approval person. They're going to then produce it into a released file by taking it and transitioning it there. That is the kind of the last step in the workflow here. But keep in mind, as we go through this, if your business process is a little bit different, it's not a big deal. That pending approval process could be one person and a peer, or it could be a full release cycle through quality, through sales, through manufacturing, and then maybe even management or C-level. You could run the gambit with all of those, and the workflows in PDM are highly customizable, where you can add all of those in serial or in parallel to be able to make that change in that approval cycle. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. It could be something that's like an email from the customer saying, we want to buy 1,000, and you want to store that, you want to keep that around in the project. So that's a really easy way to put it in, is to use a vaulted state. This is inclusive of photos, videos of our products, maybe some shop photos or so, what have you, and that can be all placed inside there. Today we're going to be looking at revisions. These revisions, are going to be starting off in draft. I called it draft, but it could be prototype to you. Each company is a little bit different in the way they handle this, but we can manage it in either an alpha sequence or a numeric sequence or an alphanumeric sequence, or we can go all the way out to tertiary if you need to. But keep in mind that this is flexible. I'm using ABC on release, but if you use 1, 2, 3, we can easily swap that, and that can be done very, very, very efficiently in PDM. So I'm going to give a moment and let you guys read this one. I don't want you to be Dilbert because, you know, PDM has the automation available to you. That's using something called Audit Trails inside of PDM. When the ISO auditor comes through, they're going to ask questions about some particular drawing they picked up in the shop and say, show me this. Well, you can say, hey, I just have to go 2 clicks on that file and boom, I've got the history for you. I don't have to sweat it. It's no big deal. So in order to comply with anything that's necessary, we can do that. We can go above and beyond ISO as well. We can go into FDA and DoD and some of the other audit possibilities. We just need to know that up front and set the settings appropriately. So what we're going to talk about now is the differences between standard and professional. Everything we've covered so far is all inclusive of both, but there are some distinct differences between the two. PDM Standard is set up for a small engineering team or design team. That's the general purpose of the way it was designed and the way it works. It's a limited kind of product. It doesn't have any of the automation pieces, so anything that you see that's kind of automatic as we go through the demonstration, that's all a PDM Professional, and I'll do my best to point that out as we go through. But any integrations with other softwares, any API hooks or automation like I talked about, those are kind of not available in PDM Standard. That's available only in Professional. So templates, task automations, multiple workflows, and things like that can be possible in PDM Professional, and there is an easy upgrade path. So if you choose to start with PDM Standard and upgrade to PDM Professional, that's definitely a feasible option for us. One of the things that we do want to take a look at is the PDM Standard and Professional packages. So when we look at these packages, we're going to be looking at our website. And if you'll bear with me just a moment, let me get there. So I'm going to actually go there live in a web page here. We're going to go and we're going to look in PDM. We're going to look under Data Management and go straight to SOLIDWORKS PDM. So when we do that, then you're going to see that there is some great information. You guys may have already been here. We're going to click on one of these Compare Packages links. Once we do that, it's going to take us to this next section, and you're going to see that there is a wide list of many of the options that we're going to be talking about today, some of which are, you know, like change management or bill of materials management. Those are only available in our professional package, and we'll see that there's several options here. And so that's something you guys can do. Y'all can look through that list, and it's not a problem at all. You know, go ahead and go there. You can see the differences between them. If you have any questions, let Sean or myself know, and we can go through that, or let your sales rep know if you're in a different territory as well. But this is kind of what we're looking at, some of those differences. All right. Without further ado, I'd like to take and show you guys how easy it is to actually use SOLIDWORKS PDM. So this particular file is a good file. It's an Office file. It's a PowerPoint presentation. So this would be the same as a Word document, an Excel file, you know, some of the other Office products. But all of the products that have a file save as window can be used. So when we look at going to the Vault, we're just going to go and navigate to the Vault. We're going to then be prompted for login possibly, or in some cases you've integrated that with your Windows Active Directory in PDM Professional, and you can go ahead and just log in. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and put this in my technical publications area. I've got several others there. I'm going to go ahead and save it. But as I do that, it's going to go ahead and automate the add of the file to my file vault. You'll notice that there's a small blue icon in the bottom right-hand corner, and it also gives me a dynamic notification saying, hey, I've successfully added a file to the vault. Well, that's great information. It's right there at the ready. I can also take and navigate directly to the vault and use a shortcut to do that by taking and looking at that same file in our first look area. Now, one of the things that we want to look at is down here. This data card information that's available for us is great, but I'm missing a piece of information. Now, these are what we call metadata for the file. So when I update this data card, it's actually writing the data back into the file. so that when I use that file later on, I might be able to use a quick link or a named range or something like that, depending on what type of file I'm using, and you can automate the insertion of properties there. I'll show you that later in the demonstration, but for now, let's take a look at this data card. It's got a lot of great information. I just have to update a few pieces of it, but it's automated some of it. Automated document numbering is available in PDM Professional, but all the revision, the created by, the date, everything's been captured. It's pulled some information from my folder card. This technical publication folder has this information already on it, so it's consumed that, and it makes it easy for me as the user so that I don't have to input lots of data. I can just input a few things and I'm all set. So the only thing that's necessary now is to go ahead and navigate and go ahead and go ahead and check the file in, excuse me. In order for everyone else in the organization to see the file, I'll need to create a check-in, which is going to create a secondary version because I updated a property there, but not a problem. We'll go ahead and check in the file. Now, checking in the file is going to allow me to kind of see that it's now in a vaulted state. I've got it in a just everybody can see it kind of situation, but I really want to take this and I want to move it through the workflow. So when we move and change the state of the file, we're going to move it to the WIP state. We're going to move it over into the approval workflow. We're going to say needs approval. And this is a pretty simple process. Now I could do this inside of the application. I can do it in Windows Explorer directly through a right click. Or if you're a menu person, you can also do it up here in the modify box. So if you want to do it there, that's fine too. So you can submit it for approval. And it looks like, I may have needed to send this on to my boss yesterday before the webinar. That might have been better. It's always hindsight's 20/20, right? So we look and we say, Brian, I needed this yesterday. So you can impress upon your approver how important this particular item is, and hopefully that doesn't happen to you guys. Hopefully you're well in advance of things and all is well. Now, one of the things that I see in the right hand side, I can see that it's pending approval. Now, what's going to happen is he's going to get a message, whether that's inside the system in PDM Standard or if it's via email, which is a great benefit of PDM Professional. You're going to see that they're going to get a message. Now, in order to show you what they're going to receive, I do need to kind of log off using myself and go ahead and log back in as my boss. Now, don't tell him I know his password or anything, but I do want to go ahead and log in as him to show you guys. Okay, once I log in, it takes about 60 seconds or so for the message to get all the way through the database and sent out. So it takes just a second, but you'll notice that there is a dynamic notification just like the add of the file, and I can see that sure enough, it's got the notification comment, it's got an ability to open the file directly through the link, or I can navigate to it. And right now I don't have a window open, so we're going to take a look at how this works. Many of these buttons do other things. I can see the properties and they get the history, which is the audit trail, or navigate directly to the folder. Lots of possibilities there, but taking me directly to the file is one great way to go ahead and go in and say, you know what, just show me that file. It's an efficiency that's really great for us, and for you too when you start to use PDM. When we look at the file itself, you'll notice that there is a preview tab at the bottom. When I look at the preview tab, I can see that it shows us that presentation that you received a few moments ago. We can see that it has all of that great information inside. And it's a multi-page preview, so I can see all of those things directly within the interface, and I didn't even have to open the document. So if this is the second time I'm looking, I might be looking for a certain page and certain information, see if it's there, and if it is, then great, it's all set. So as Brian, I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what, this is released, it's going to go to the next step. But before I do, I want to take a special note and go back to this revision sequence. If I reject this file, in my particular vault, it's going to go from an O1 to an O2, and I'm going to start working on an O2. That's just the way that I've chosen to set it up. But nonetheless, you could be ABC and then go to 1, 2, 3, or in this case, we're going to go to an A. And so we'll see that automation happen here. So I might give a good note back, since I'm Brian right now, and say, approved in the comment because that's for Audit Trail, and the notification comment might be something like nice work. All right, and this is for FDA compliance and some other compliances that need to verify that I am the person approving at the time that I do the approval. That's some compliances require that, and so I can also implement that as well. Okay, looking at this, we see that the revision of the file has become an A. It's also marked automatically the approved by today's date, whenever the date is that you've approved it, and it's released it directly. Now, that's a great way to get the files released in the workflow, as well as a pretty easy way to use the Vault to get that automated signature. Now, other things that we can do inside of PDM are looking at other types of documents. You'll notice that this data card is set up so that it works for Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDFs potentially. But other types of files may have different information. They may look different, right? It has a message, it's got different things, it's got attachments. These are great ways to look at messages. You can see that Word documents, again, have the same look and feel, but it does have a multi-page preview. So you can see that Word document, or maybe even that Excel sheet, has a multi-page, multi-cell kind of situation. Now, PDFs operate the same way. Again, multi-page preview. There's 350 or so, roughly, file formats that can be natively previewed directly within the interface, as well as you can add your own viewers as well. All right, so that's a great look at general file usage. But we really want to take a look at how we can go back and we can find other types of files. Now, I know that there is a particular part that I'm looking for, and I may be an engineer and I might be looking for something, or maybe a purchasing agent looking for it. I can go up to my model search, and the model search data card looks exactly like the part card, and we'll see that in just a few minutes. But when we look for this, I might want to be looking for potentially a nut of some kind, right? So if I type that in and I search for it, I'm going to pull back a whole bunch of files, all kinds of different files that have, you know, nut in the name, some that don't, right? So you can see that this absolutely doesn't have nut in the name, but it does have some good information in the file. So I can see this is a flange nut, right? I can see that it has multiple configurations as well. So we can see that every single one of these is going to have that description nut on here. But maybe I'm looking for something that might have a 12 in the number, right? So I can start to combine this, and I can say, you know what, show me things that have a part number 12 anywhere in the number, and then nut also in the description. And I can start to narrow my search down to just a few components that are available. Now, other things that can be tied to this, you'll notice that the material for this one is 304 and the material for this one is steel. Now, when I start to do multi-searches like this, I can start to really narrow it down and get exactly the perfect component just by simply doing a multi-search. I haven't searched the name at all. The number is the only thing that's been searched. However, the number is the name, so that kind of matches. But I'm using only the data card's information to run this search, and it's a great way to kind of dig through the data that we have in our database and get to exactly the thing I'm looking for very, very quickly. So without further ado, I do want to go into some other engineering area type items. Now, when we set up projects, some of the automations that we need to leverage might be setting up the next project. So I have a project 192. I need to set up the next project, which is 193. So I can simply right-click, create a new engineering project. Now, this might be available for project managers and management, but maybe not everybody. And you can administrate this to give just as much permission or not as much permission as you want. And we can set this up for, let's just call it the webinar. And we're going to say new project. All right, so we're going to go ahead and locate it in our hometown here in Houston, but we're going to go and we can set this up with whatever you want. You know, these data fields can be any number of fields. You can do subcategories, categories, and things like this. All of this template idea is something that's available in PDM Professional. And what it does is it automates the methods that I'm about to show you to create the project, not only it creates the project, but it also creates the subfolder bucket system that I want to use. And this is whatever you choose. So you could set it up a little bit different way. I just chose to set it up with checklists and design data and maybe some sales documents that are coming from the customer and so forth. But inside of this, we would put all of the CAD data here. We would put some markups and things like that that come back from the customer here. Just kind of general bucket system. Now, if you have a different bucket system, we just set it up that way. But in the checklist area, one of the automations that we have available to us is using these templates to create files. These files have pertinent data that's already been populated because we used a template. Now, in this case, I've taken that one step further, and I'm able to use this Excel file to take that data and actually input that data directly on the form. So now I just need to be concerned with the actual content of the project. It makes that automation, that mundane work, non-existent. So we can go ahead and get right to work immediately. And that's a great way to automate any type of document that goes along with every project that you create, and that's a great way to do that. So the only thing that's left is to check it in and kind of move about the process. Now, this file can follow an approval cycle just like the one we just saw, as well as other types of things. But when we create files and when we create projects, we want to have design data. Now, I'm going to move over SOLIDWORKS right here, and we're going to take a look at what SOLIDWORKS can do inside the Vault as well. Now, inside of this, we're going to take and we're going to set up maybe an ANSI inch file. We're going to draw something quick and put it in there. I'm not as concerned with the geometry today as I am with the functionality of PDM, so bear with me just a moment. I'll design something fancy here. All right, so it'll take just a moment, and we'll have a very nice, there we go. So now we've got our dimensions, we've got everything in there that's great, and we're able to go ahead and create the extrusion. And let's make it an inch. There we go. So now we have a nice plate with a hole in it. It might be some sort of spacer block or something like that. And that looks great. So we've got our design, it's all finished, and we're ready to go ahead and put that in the Vault. Now from SOLIDWORKS, that's the same operation, same as what we did in PowerPoint. We're able to take this and go directly to the Vault. We're able to then go into our Vault folder. So we're going to go into our engineering area and then go into our project, our new project that we just created. We'll go ahead and use that one, and we'll put it in our design area. Now, you'll notice that the automation that's occurred, that's available in PDM Professional, is it's numbered this for me. My data card has the auto numbering turned on, and it's serializing it. So if I create this one, it's 954. The next one that I create in the Vault will be 955, and so forth. You'll see that when I save this on the data card. But if you are using PDM Standard, that's not a problem. You just input the number that you know right there, and then you'll go ahead and input that same number on the part number here. We'll give it, let's say, spacer block. And you'll notice that I only had to update the description. Everything else was automated for me. I could also put in other vendor information and cost information if I need to, and go ahead and save that into the Vault. Now, that's very, very simple, right? I'm able to automate a lot of those things that I am having to do normally on a regular basis, and taking a lot of those things and automating them is going to save me enormous amounts of time in doing my job. So I want to take and just quickly add this with a few dimensions. Import those. There we go. Import those dimensions. Perfect. All right. So we have a nice plate with a hole in it. It's got a few dimensions on it. Now, if I was in quite a hurry to draw this one, might have needed to do a little bit slower to get a better look at that, but you can always put in your own dimensions as well. All right, so looking good, drawing's looking good. We're able to now save this. That is also going to go in that same project, but you'll notice that automatically I'm getting the same name, same number. I don't have to worry. I'm very efficient in the save process. It's going to again present me with the data card, but it's already found out that it's got the same description. We're all set. I don't really need to do anything here. I just need to hit OK. make sure it's good, and off we go. So now inside of the PDM system, we're going to interact with it inside of SOLIDWORKS now. You do have the same functionality that you had in Windows Explorer with the other types of files, but you have all of that here as well. You can do a get latest, get version, check in, check out, transition, seek approval for things. All of that's available. And then in this case, I might say initial check-in, and I'll go ahead and move along with that. Now, that's going to put it directly in the vault. It's going to make it available for everyone else to see it. I can go ahead and select it in Windows Explorer using our select button, and you'll notice that it does have that same information. Everybody's going to see this. They're all going to be able to, if they can see the native file, they'll be able to see a nice preview, and you'll notice that it is a dynamic preview. One of the options that we usually turn on is something called Show Full UI, and that gives a whole nother feel to it. We've got a whole bunch of options here for doing measurements. Maybe I didn't include a particular dimension. I wanted to know exactly what that is. Sure enough, it's 1 inch across. Same thing here when we look at the part. Maybe we want to see the 3-dimensional preview. And this is available without SOLIDWORKS on your machine. Even using PDM Standard contributors or viewers, you'll be able to leverage this functionality. Now, other things that we can do by taking point measurements, maybe I don't know what the straight across is. You can see that it also does the triangulations directly here. It uses an eDrawings viewer directly inside of Windows Explorer to give us a preview. All right, so let's take a look at a little bit more functionality. Now, I'm gonna use this drawing to show this, but beyond this, we're going to actually pull up an assembly and we're going to see a more robust bit of this. We can see that the Contains tab shows the drawing as well as the part. When I look at the Where Used on the drawing, it doesn't show anything because it's not used anywhere, but if I were to select the part, I would see that the part is used on the drawing. And that's a great way to kind of traverse back and forth between the Contains and Where Used. Now, one of the things that we want to look at is the assemblies. When we look at assemblies in Windows Explorer for functionality, we can see that this assembly is pretty robust. It doesn't even have a drawing, right? We can see that it has a lot of parts, has a lot of sub-assemblies, has 9 or 10 different levels actually, and we can see that it's fairly robust. This will be more of similar to a large active project. And in this case, I'm going to use my Bill of Materials tab to actually see everything that's contained there. I can show it in an indented fashion, top level, parts only, or any of those types of ways that we want to look at it and show the tree. But the best part about this is I don't have a drawing yet. I'm still mid-project. I might want to go ahead and publish this to purchasing and say, hey guys, can you guys source the cost of these? Are we in the ballpark? What's going on? You know, let's get a forward look at the project, and it makes our project delivery that much faster. So we can see that directly can go out to Excel. I can see that it has multi-level. I see the parts and all of their content available directly within an export. So that's a great way to leverage the bill of materials to advance the project faster than it normally would go. All right, so that's a great way to look at it. If we were to go and look at the preview, now I could show you guys, that this is, obviously this needs to be rebuilt. We're mid-project. We need to go ahead and add an arm to it. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and open this up. And for existing files that are in the vault, you're going to see that we're going to go ahead and open a file. We're going to go ahead and make a modification. We're going to put it back. So I'll need to go ahead and check this one out. And let's see if there's anything else. I don't believe there's anything else, but let me see. I don't need that one. You'll notice that there's a nice tooltip preview of all of the different componentry, and I can see that many of these have a good preview, and it can show me the component parts. That's a great way to look at it. If I were to make a modification to this arm at the same time, I might want to go ahead and check that one out as well. So I'm checking out the master assembly, and I'm checking out one subassembly. I can still have other folks working in the project, maybe on the handle or maybe on the this support arm, any of those things. So I'm really just working on two pieces of it, and the other users may be working on other parts. So I can have a multi-collaborative environment and ready to go for full design process. Very quickly, just to take a real quick modification to this, we're going to take that and we're going to create a mirror with it, and we're going to just mirror over a couple of components just to show a difference. So when I go ahead and mirror over that arm, it's going to create my secondary version. Pretty simple. Does show a difference. I might want to take and open this component. Maybe it's subassembly, just real quick. And let's see what that looks like. When I do that, it's going to say, hey, it's an older version. Okay, well, I have it checked out. Let's go ahead and save it. Oh, I don't have all the component parts, right? So it's actually giving me good feedback as we go through to say, hey, do you want to save these, or do you want to what do you want to do with this? And so it's giving me great dynamic feedback all the way through the process. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get those. I will need to go ahead and check these out real quick, and we'll do that directly through our PDM panel over here. Now, when we do that, we just have to highlight them, check them out. You'll notice that they all become active. Now the save won't give me that warning. If I were to rebuild, it would actually show me that those are altered and changed because they're going to be up versioned. And that's a pretty easy way to do that. So now all of them have been saved and rebuilt. Over in the PDM panel on the right, you're going to see that they do show that green marker, which means they have made a change on my system. And I can, make a few more modifications, but we're all set here. So I'm ready to go ahead and check it back in. Rebuild and save. And okay, so there we go. Good to go. And so I'm putting good notes as we go through this. So if I wanted to go back to the history of any one of these documents, I could then navigate to the history of the file directly and see that, it was checked in here with this particular note, and it was edited up until that point in different stages along the way. All right, so that's a great way to look at it. We can see all of that directly through the SOLIDWORKS interface. If I were to pin this up, it would make it a little bit easier when we go back to the assembly, because it'll stay active. I'll be able to see, different things here as well. We can see I might need to take some attention here. It's got some issues with that file, but overall, we're in great shape. We're ready to continue and go ahead and check in the file, and then maybe transition this off to approval because it's ready to go. All right. We're going to just finish this off in our webinar to talk about the idea of what happens and what did we talk about, right? We talked about how SOLIDWORKS PDM has a very fast learning curve because it is in Windows Explorer. In Windows Explorer, you can copy and paste a file, you can right-click a file, and you can find all the options available that are needed for doing the work and getting the approvals and such. The workflows are very, very flexible in the ability to manage them, prove things, getting multi-approvals and things like that. It has granular security, and we didn't talk about it too much, but I can limit it down to just released files. I can limit it to specific file types for particular users, particular groups, and those abilities there. And we have the audit integrity, and we did discuss that quite a bit. But when we look at PDM and all of the offerings, we see that PDM Standard has its core functionality for a small group. It is a multi-user collaboration tool, and it allows granular security and everything we talked about. PDM Professional adds on top of that a multi-site replication possibility for multiple offices. You can go into multi-CAD environments. You can do data import-export with other systems like ERP, MRP, other types of database systems, and it does a lot of the advanced searching and capabilities. Now, Manage is also an option that's available to us, and that stacks on a whole nother set of tools that we didn't really discuss today for project management and change management and that sort of thing. If you need to know more about that, reach out to your account representative, and we'll have a good discussion about that as well. I do want to talk about the real math, right? What does it cost us? So when we talk about SOLIDWORKS PDM is just a tool. It allows us to automate things like searching. You saw how fast it was for me to find the exact file I was after in just a matter of seconds. Where in a folder structure kind of environment, if it's not well organized, it may take a long time to find that. And maybe 5 minutes is a conservative estimate, right? It may take longer. But if I do that 5 times a day, that's 25 minutes a day I've lost. When I do that over the course of a year, I've lost 6,250 minutes. That equates to 104 hours of my time gone. Now, if I were to expand that to a group, or I'm sorry, if I were to expand that to the dollar figure, you guys can punch in your own dollar figure here, whatever your man hour rate is. Go ahead and put that in there. But 104 hours times whatever that number is, and you get a pretty large number. You develop that to an entire team. You're talking about some substantial dollar savings just by searching. That doesn't include any of the other functionality for approvals or anything. Just searching files gives us this massive benefit. Now, those things are great, but when we look at the search, that's just one component. What happens if we produce the wrong revision? How big is that dollar figure? I can't give that to you. That's based on what your products are, how many you make, what kind of substantial impact that is. You know, if you produce the wrong revision, that's a problem. What about lost work? If I have a machine go down, how much did I actually lose? You know, if we've done a good job of check in and check out, we've got a copy on the server and a copy on our workstation, we have zero lost work when that machine goes down. So that's the great way to use PDM, and as you need additional services for it, we can do a full range of implementation and training. We can actually help you get up and running very, very quickly. We offer a hosted server product that operates in PDM Standard, PDM Professional, PDM Manage, and even licensed serving. So those are all the, not all the services, but many of them that are available to you. And we just want to know how we can assist you better and how we can make you successful. And so I want to say I appreciate your time today, and I hope you've enjoyed the webinar and a first look at PDM.